how do you think, the voice design is very different from an interface conversational design, basically? What's the difference basically, and how do you feel? We call it multimodal design, right? And
Mm.
so you build for Alexa devices also, and the web devices also. So how do you think people should think about it?
So the difference between voice and chat
Yeah,
specifically. Yeah. Well, one of the interesting things about voice is that typically the things that you're dealing with, the phrases that people say, typically tend to be a lot longer. Is the first obvious difference.
right,
So with chat, people tend to talk like they text. A little bit broken up, a little bit kind of like shorthand, because obviously it takes a lot longer to type than it does to actually speak.
right.
And so with chat, you end up with some kind of more kind of broken sentences or really short form, typically more sort of keyword based stuff, because people know how to work a search engine. They know how to type stuff into systems to make it understand them. And so that's some of the stuff that you tend to get with chat. Whereas with voice, we're used to having conversations with other people that we've been doing since we were 3 years old. It's just so natural. We don't even think about it. We don't think about how to speak to a system to make it understand us. We just speak because we speak every day. And so there's a lot more variation. The phrases are a hell of a lot longer. So there's a lot more work to be done, a lot more research to be done to understand, to make sure that your bot can understand the kind of things that people say to it. That's the first kind of obvious practical difference. In terms of the approach that we would use to creating something, the approach is exactly the same. And in fact, we actually design, even if we're building a chatbot, we'll design as if it was a voice-based conversation first. Because if you can get the voice conversation right, you can get the dialogue exchange right, you can work out the conversation patterns properly, then building a chatbot is absolutely simple. The things that frustrate me sometimes is when I see chatbots that are not really chatbots, because you don't chat with them. You just click the buttons that the chatbot provides you. And so
Right.
it's more of an interactive kind of form-based sort of tool. It's like a little widget that you would have on the website where you can press yes, press no. And when I see those things, it's obvious that people haven't built them. And no offense, by the way, if anyone here is building those kind of things, because they all have their place. But it always makes me think that there hasn't been a conversation kind of designed at this point. There's been a tree built
Right,
and an architecture built
right.
and some menu options to get people through it.
Hmm.
So that's if you are kind of new to conversation design, if you're new to creating more like natural language based experiences, then that will be the first major difference that you'll find when you move into working on a voice bot. You can build voice bots with those trees, and many people
Exactly.
do. And
Right.
many people use that kind of tree based structure, tree based architecture. But you tend to have to, even if you do that, you tend to have to work a little bit harder at trying to understand all of the different ways that all of the different
Mhm.
people might respond to you and all that kind of stuff. And the other thing as well is that with voice, quite often, because it's not visual and you don't have the hints, people tend to just, on occasion will naturally sort of be a bit more inquisitive. And so with a chatbot, you can see the hints, you can see what's possible kind of thing. And so you'll tend to stick within the boundaries. But with voice, because you can't see anything, there's no prompts for you there. You tend to have the dialogue can potentially go all over the place. And so if you were going to ask someone, you know, what time do you want your table reservation for? They might not say, oh, 9 o'clock. They might say, I don't know, what time does the restaurant close? Because they might want to be
Right.
eating late and they want to be making sure they've got enough time and stuff like that. And so, yeah, some of the responses that you might get are a little bit different. So that's also why we kind of try and encourage everybody to design for voice first, because then you're dealing with all this. You kind of you're role playing the conversation out.
Hmm.
You're dealing with all of the various different things that comes back that's not expected. And once you've got your conversational patterns ready and kind of prototyped and tested, yeah, turning that into a chatbot becomes very, very easy.
Great, great, great.